Where are the women in India startup scenario? Barely any women founders are to be found, not just in India, but in top startup economies globally. Now, a new study in the US has found startups with at least one female founder build companies where nearly half the staff are women. In fact, this study says women-led firms have nearly twice the industry average and outpace some of America's largest tech companies in gender diversities. They've named Google, Facebook and Uber as saying that these are the companies that women-established companies are in fact beating at their own game. So what about seeing this in India? Is that something that we can even expect and look forward to in the future? That's what we're discussing with women founders who need no introduction, but I'll do it anyways. Irene Chahal, founder, CEO, She Rose. This is a growth network for women with us in the Delhi studio. Also joining us on the program, Swati Bhargav, co-founder, cashkaro.com. This is a cashback portal. Swati, let me start by asking you, it's almost cliched now to talk about the numbers and how dismal they are. Just 9% of startup founders in India are women and so on and so forth. As a woman, now when you hire, we constantly hear people say that two different things. One, women founders say that we often try and keep gender diversity on the table and get the gender balance right. Others say, I just hire the best people for the job. How difficult is this?
I lost her.
Okay, I'm going to try and see if we can fix that. So I'll take that question to you. How would you respond to that? Because what you're doing is actually just the opposite. You're pulling women who've had to sort of drop out, yes, or, of the workforce, yeah, and saying, come, I will find opportunities for you.
Right. So I think, when women get involved in leadership positions, at founding positions, it's not that they're trying to hire more women. I think what happens is, they bring a lot of themselves to the table, the lives that we have had. And I think somewhere the level of empathy increases, and when you're more empathetic, then you tend to be more diverse and you tend to be more inclusive. So a lot of startups who are, feeling the brunt of not having enough women in their workforce are basically low empathy startups. They're low empathy organizations, which makes it harder for them to bring in people who don't look like them or who don't sort of come from the same circles or don't come from the same setups. And
are there a large number of them out there?
Well, I think there's a huge number. There's only a small percentage that sort of makes the cut or is at least aware of the fact that this is their composition and they need to take more conscious calls or, make their workforce more inclusive, make it, representative of the markets that they serve. So clearly, there's a lot of brohood out there.
There is, absolutely. Swati, come in here. Let's hope that the line to you is now better. You can hear me loud and clear. I was trying to ask you, that as a startup founder, as a co-founder, sort of is gender diversity, gender balance something that plays on your mind, say, when you hire, when you look for growth opportunities for your team all the time? Do you have to remind yourself? Does it sort of come organically or none of the above?
Right, Natasha, so firstly, great to be back on the show. I just want to add that the study that you referred to, it refers to companies that actually have less than 20 employees. So I think it's easier, first of all, for the companies that the study mentioned to manage it when they're so small. And I think as you grow bigger, the challenge only gets tougher because there are less women in the workflows to start with. Secondly, I'd like to say that, from a founder's perspective, when we are hiring, usually we are looking for the best person for the job. That might be a man, it might be a woman, and certain roles, certain people do better. That's just what we've seen over time as well. So that plays on a little bit. At Cashkaro, we have about 30-35% women. It's not a conscious effort that we've said, okay, if we have a choice between a man and a woman, let's hire a woman. I think it's just happened organically because women are really good in what they do. The diversity adds to the workforce, not only from a women perspective, also from a race, gender, caste, religion perspective also. It's really helpful to have a diverse workforce. And the last point to make is that, I think there are less women in startups, not because we are hiring like that or because we are, biased towards it. There are a lot of other societal factors also at play, which I'm sure we'll cover soon.
Fair enough. So how can we change that? That's a good point Swati makes, which I'm sure that you're familiar with. There are factors. We've had founders who have struggled, who have said that, often when we went to make pitches, we were told that, when are you going to have your kids? Why don't you come back after you've done that? We were told, why are you trying this idea? Why don't you try something easier? Try selling soap, someone said, when she, So absolutely. That does happen.
Right. So I think it's a two-way street. Startups, you know, if they're cognizant of the fact that, you know, they are going to scale or they're going to become a particular kind of organization, and these are not questions you sort of really think about once you've scaled up. You know, you don't do it how Uber did it. You basically do it right from the start, because because the founder's DNA is the startup's DNA. You know, and it's going to manifest in more ways than one. And the kind of team that you will build up is one. The kind of organization, the kind of culture you will build up, and these are not questions that you want to shrug away under the carpet. Once you know what's your MVP, once you know what's the product market fit, you know, you got to build your organization.
That's an interesting point. You're saying that these things have to be sorted in your head at the beginning, not that eventually one day I will talk about gender diversity.
There is no patchwork on culture. You know, there is no patchwork on diversity. If you do not do it on day one, you're not going to do it on day 1,000.
Okay, interesting. That's good. I sort of, that's, you know, something that we perhaps need to speak at in greater detail. But, you know, Swati, come in at this point. You know, there are all those who also say that there are moves, say, like paid maternity, and there were all those founders who said that that will make us, you know, think twice about hiring women, because we are sort of struggling for money, especially in this environment ourselves. So where do women and that too paid maternity missing for all those months coming from? Do you believe factors like that are a disadvantage? Because why shouldn't they really have this facility anyway?
Look, I think that's a really myopic view. I've never taken that view, and I don't think at Cashgrow we'll ever have that, because the value that women are adding in the workforce, I'm happy to pay 6 months maternity. And also the fact is that, you know, women do need that time. Not everybody has the benefit of having a lot of help and family around to help. I think if you're a very small startup, it might play on your mind. But I think as you grow bigger, you'll just be okay with it.
Okay. Okay, that's, you know, Sari, I want to ask you that, is that because this we are hearing from women, you know, that we're hearing so much about gender diversity? Because when only 9% of founders are women, what about the remaining 90% out there? I mean, it would have been nice to get a male view on the panel as well. But do you believe that this comes naturally to say any founder, this is sort of gender neutral a thing, or not really?
So no, it doesn't come naturally. And I think to a lot of, you know, bro startups, it doesn't come at all. It doesn't come until they've, you know, become large companies.
Like you're saying, it might be too late.
It might be too late. You know, but the fact remains, you know, people who are building, you know, companies for the long term, or people who are in the business of value creation, they will understand the value of bringing diverse teams, doing it right from day one. So I think there's no denying that. And as far as, you know, looking at, you know, these as cost structures or maternity as, you know, as a you know, burden on the organization, I think when you compare it with other things that stack up, employee benefits, you know, inflation, market salaries, I think it's actually a better trade-off, because you really want getting more stability, you're getting more loyal employees. You're also creating the right kind of culture. And I think I'd like to add to it that, you know, yes, I think there's space for all of us to make it more family friendly. So add paternity leave to maternity leave.
That's a thought. Why not? Why not?
Absolutely.
Swati, I'm completely out of time, but I'm going to give you the last word on it very quickly. Do you believe that all this that we're talking about is going to be a reality in India sooner rather than later? Is it just talk, or will we see action as well? Very quickly.
I think there are 3 factors which are going to influence that. Firstly, whether women want to actually do a startup. It is a lot of work. And it's not only for a man or woman. I think it's for an individual to decide whether you really want to go on that journey. The second thing is that India really needs to be safer for us to have more women in startups. Fair enough. And because a lot of things you don't do just because it's not safe. It's long working hours. You will get back at 10 o'clock. So, and the last thing is that the family and society, I know that my family has been so supportive. That's been very helpful. So
I think everything really needs to come in sync. Right, I hear what you're saying. Everything really needs to come in sync, but perhaps more conversations that we have and more data that perhaps looks optimistic will sort of change the narrative as it was. Swati, thanks very much for your time. Well, it's a wrap then on Left, Right and Center. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.